Hey, Matt.
Hey Judd, welcome everybody.
So we didn't talk. Are you driving or am I driving this time?
We're just winging it. I'm just here to watch you see what you got planned.
Uh,
Yeah, so I made a few notes, things to go
okay,
through.
cool. Love it. Yep, Daphne, it will be recorded. We'll send out a link after the webinar, basically. We're pretty fast about it too. So you'll get an email with a link where you can watch it. It'll also be on our YouTube channel. Feel free to just listen in. It's all good. If you have questions, chat at any time. If you want to open your mic and ask a question, just raise your hand, stuff like that. And we're doing basically a webinar on staff accounts in CheckCherry. So managing staff and all kinds of different stuff. Some tips, probably what you can do with staff emails and all that stuff. So I'm Judd. I'm one of the co-founders of CheckCherry. Matt is the other co-founder of CheckCherry. Yeah, so I guess we'll get started. And thanks for driving, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on the wrong side. Okay. Yeah, and just a something I'll mention on the webinars. You can always find the webinars under if you click on your name and go to support. Um, we've got them all listed there now. So if you go to the webinar library, you can see historical webinars. If there's something you want to catch up that you missed, and you can register for the new one once we've announced them. So and that'll get you a link even if you can't make it. So definitely feel free to watch them later. And yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, in terms of the staff, I don't know where we want to start. Just I guess kind of the just how to create a
I
staff
would
account.
just say, what is a staff account? Probably user accounts, probably cover some of the admin, customer ideas, the extended permissions,
Mhm.
impersonating a user, kind of just getting that piece. Uh,
Yeah. So
you
in
know.
general, once
Well, actually, Matt, just take a step back. So, CheckTrade has staff accounts, and primarily they're used when you have people working your bookings. That's typically a staff.
Mhm.
That being said, they can be other things like people following up on sales leads or people doing design work or stuff like that. So we've seen other use cases. Most of what we see people use staff accounts for is you've got a booking or a gig and you want them to work that booking or gig. I mean, I think that's probably what a huge
Mhm.
percentage of the use case, but that's not
Yeah,
every, but that's
exactly.
a kind of a staff account. Yeah.
And so to go in, like create your staff accounts, you're going to go to manage user accounts, and you'll see everybody that has an account with you that listed there. So that's going to include customers, but you'll see your staff tab, and that'll limit it to just your staff. You'll see admins, that'll just be your admins. And you can think of admins as somebody that has access to virtually everything. So those are going to be, if you're on this call, and that's probably you. And if you've got somebody else helping you, just kind of manage the business itself. That's going to be an admin. And so if you want to create a new staff, what you're going to do is click Add New User, and you're going to check one of these boxes on the right. So if you wanted to give them access to everything, you would check this admin box. Or if you want to kind of keep it more limited, you would check this staff box. And once you check staff, you'll see a few different options listed here. Um, we'll kind of walk through these. So you can check as many, you can check or uncheck any of these options. And in particular, we've got the extended permissions option. And what that lets your staff member do is to see pricing, messages, and make changes to bookings. So if you kind of trust your staff, say you've got somebody that's out there, you want them to be able to answer questions about billing, make changes, if the customer wants them to add extra time, add an extra add-on, things like that. You're going to want to give them extended permissions. And on the flip side, if you don't want to have them see pricing, they're just kind of there to work the event. if the customer has a billing question, if you want that customer to talk to you, then you probably don't want to give them extended permissions. Kind of the next level there is, do you want your staff to see all bookings or just the ones they're assigned to? Probably most common is to just let them see the bookings that they're assigned to, and so we leave that unchecked by default. But sometimes again, if you've got a staff member that's helping you out with planning or customer outreach or things like that, you might want to let that staff see all of your bookings instead of just the ones they're assigned to. And then the next one we've got is kind of more of a sales-oriented role. So these are both talking about your confirmed bookings, where somebody's booked you, they've typically signed and paid. But a lot of times, people might have somebody helping out on the sales side. And that's going to be a little bit different workflow, right? Where they need to see your incoming leads, they need to send proposals to people, and that type of stuff. And then the last option here is, do you want to allow customers to see the staff's contact information? Sometimes people do, sometimes they don't. But if a customer has a question about about something, they might reach out to your staff if there's a staff contact there. Whereas if you want to keep that again, kind of more, if you want everything to be going through you, you might want to uncheck that. So we'll go ahead and just use the default permissions, and we'll give them a name. Um, basically most of the fields are optional. The only one that is required is an email and some kind of a name. Everything else is optional, and we'll create that user. And once we do that, the user, we can see the user hasn't yet logged in, but we can send them instructions to log in. So if I go ahead and click that, an email is going to get sent out to them with instructions for setting a password.
No, that was a feature that did not exist in Check Cherry for so long. It's funny. It's like use the password reset, but
Yeah.
love that it's there.
And so they'll get an email in their inbox just saying, hey, click here to choose your password and get set up. So
Maybe click edit real quick. And I'm just like, when might we use some of these fields? I mean, obviously the email is required, but for example, the bio, like why would I want to use that?
absolutely.
Um,
So yeah, for the bio, I would say that's going to be so, on the photo booth side, generally speaking, your staff are just kind of showing up, there's not a personality to them, you're just assigning somebody and they show up at the event. But particularly in some of the other side, like say the DJ world, a lot of times, if you've got multiple DJs, they all might have, different event types that they work,
right.
different.
Languages speaking or types of
Yeah.
music. Yeah.
This person's good for weddings, that person's good for corporate events, that type of stuff. And so that bio kind of lets you share some information about them. Again, the customer is going to be able to see that. So if there's just any information you kind of want to share with the customer, that's a great place to do it.
And
You can
it,
also include private notes. Those are just for you. If there's anything that you don't want to share with
yeah.
customers.
And maybe we can show it later, but the bio will show up on if you assign somebody to a proposal. It'll have their picture and a bio and all that stuff. And I guess that's the other thing is we can also add a picture of your staff member.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good move because they're going to be showing up at the event. And it is kind of nice to show them that, who's going to be there, what they look like, that type of thing.
And
Um,
imagery all around just kind of makes things look nicer, makes your customer portal look nicer. So absolutely.
Lanisha's got a quick question, which is, can you add a chat feature for just the staff? Um, And I don't know. I mean, we've talked about reworking how messages work in Check Cherry, and we know it's not great for, specifically internal communication and adding and removing people. There's all kinds of other things and issues there, challenges there. But there's also a lot of great other tools to consider using, um, Slack, Microsoft Teams, and so on. But it's an interesting idea, yeah.
And so a couple other options on this page that we can look at. We've got this checkbox to whether or not you want to allow your staff to log in. Most of the time you're going to leave that checked, but once in a while we'll have people that, maybe you don't want your staff to log in. Maybe you just want them to get this checkout box kind of on the bottom right. And we'll look at this a little bit later, but we do have a feature where you can basically let the customer choose their own staff during the checkout process. And again, that's probably not common on the photo booth side, but for DJ, it's pretty common. In certain other industries, it kind of varies. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. And again, you might just want to show them for your DJ packages, but not, not for other things, or maybe just for the wedding packages or things like that. And then we've also got some, once you go back to the staff's overview page, you can adjust those permissions. You'll see a few other things here, things about availability and time off and referral links. So we'll dig into some of this stuff a little bit later as well.
I have a question related to availability if you want to take it now.
Yeah.
It says, Cookie says, is there a way to see the availability of staff for the month?
So I'm sorry, what was that? See
Is there a
the,
way to see availability for a staff for member for the month?
yeah. So
And
what
so,
you can do, yeah, a couple of options. We do have, so once somebody sets their availability, um, if somebody adds some time off, they're off the 10th through the 14th. Um, we'll show all of the upcoming stuff here, or you can see that on your calendar as well. So if I turn on the staff off feature, I can see everybody that's in or not available for the full month, and that'll take into account both any like days off they have, but also time off that they have as well. So
and I think,
um,
yeah, can't you go to the actual user account and see
then
their
I think
calendar or
if I
something?
go to John Smith's,
Profile.
I guess if I go to this, show
There you
schedule,
go.
there
Yeah.
we go. That'll show just the time off, just limited to him as well. So um, yeah, and you can see other things like what bookings he's assigned to and stuff like that as well.
Gerald
Uh,
says, is there a way to have an upgraded price if a customer selects a specific staff member, like a higher price DJ, if they pick a specific DJ? Um,
no, but what I would say on that would be probably the more common thing is that people will have different packages and they'll associate the staff with those packages. So if you've got kind of your premium package, then maybe that's the only one that Alice shows up for or something like that. But we don't have an upgrade pricing. I'm not sure that.
and you can, yeah, no, we don't. And then you can also, maybe that could fit in availability rules or something. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but you
Yeah.
can specify which packages the user, did you already show that and I wasn't paying attention? The
Yeah.
package selector.
Yeah.
Uh,
So basically, if the customer is selecting the staff during checkout, you can limit that staff to just certain packages here. So
yeah.
if I just want him to show up for my gold and platinum, I can do that. And then
Andre
uh,
says you can do it as an add-on. I mean, yeah, you could. And maybe that would be an availability rule or something where they pick, I guess that where a certain member, uh,
yeah, that's an
has an
interesting idea too.
additional,
Yeah.
yeah.
So a few other things. So I guess probably the next step is to kind of look at, so once you've got a booking come in, um, obviously the next step is going to be assigning a staff to it. So oops, let's remove this one. And so when a new booking comes in, typically it's going to look like this, and you'll just be able to click the assign staff button. Um, we're going to show all the staff listed there. So if you've got a lot of staff in your account, like this one does, you'll see them all. And then you'll also see, we'll show whether they're available or if there's a conflict there. So you can, of course, override that. And then we'll still show kind of a scheduling warning there. And then you can also add additional staff as well. So if you've got more than one um, staff showing up for booking, you can add as many as you need to as well. So, um, and for each of those staff, you can also give them a role. So that's typically going to be, what they're doing at the event. So that'll be pre-filled in for you, but you can, of course, override that if you need to. Um, and what happens when you assign that staff to the booking? By default, they're going to get an email letting them know. So that email is going to have um, some of the details, and we'll look at the templates a little bit later as well. But basically, that's going to have the information for the event right there. So, so they'll get that in their inbox and be all set.
You could also send them a text message if you wanted. I mean, I've known people that say their staff doesn't check email as much. So, I mean, obviously SMS is an option on any of these things as well. But yeah, there's a kind of a trigger for when a staff is assigned to events.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, from there we could go to the claim feature.
Yeah, I like that. So I think one of the things that we've got was people that have bigger operations or lots of different help, so to speak. They were getting tired of assigning staff and the kind of the back and forth, are you available type stuff. And so we implemented a feature where you can broadcast basically to your staff members when a new booking comes in that needs to be, somebody needs to work. Um,
And so kind of the way that works is that if you go to manage packages, we kind of think of Check Cherry. Typically, the packages are going to kind of be organized by service. So if you've got, maybe a DJ service, that's going to have, those are all going to work a certain way. Your photo booth service is going to work a little different. So if you go into your service and scroll toward the bottom, you'll see the staff settings, and that's where you can customize some of the details for how this works. So that's where you can set, the default role, for your DJ events, you can call them a DJ. For your photographers, you can call them, you can set that. So, and then you'll see an option below that asking how should staff be assigned to this event? And so there's a few options. Do not assign staff is the default. That just means you're going to do it yourself. A new booking comes in, you decide who you want to assign and you assign them. The next option is to allow staff to claim bookings. And how that works is, or what that means is that basically when a new booking comes in, your staff have the opportunity to basically first come, first serve, claim that booking for
And
themselves.
I would say I see this done with people who really trust their staff and just don't really care.
Mhm.
Whoever wants to grab it, be on it, and they don't really worry about it. It also can be helpful if you don't want to approve people and all that stuff. And another thing is people cover a wide area, geography. People can pick the ones that are closest to them, and that's really handy. So, but yeah, you got to have a higher level of trust, I would say, with your staff.
And it kind of gets you out of playing favorites or anything like that as well.
Hmm.
The next option is allow staff to request bookings. And so how that works is that the staff can see all the unclaimed bookings or all unassigned bookings, and then they can request them. More than one person can request a booking. You'll be able to kind of see the order. So if you still want to do first come, first serve, you can. But basically, you'll see a list of requests outstanding.
And I think this is actually a more popular option. And one of the reasons is they want to evenly distribute the work, so to speak, and make sure that they have a pool of talent that they can rely on and not just have one or two people dominating it. And then that person, let's say, needs to go on vacation for, an extended period of time. So I've seen that. So that's, a consideration.
Another reason you might use it is if you want to just make sure that people are kind of, maybe your higher dollar events, you don't want them to you
Right.
trust everybody
Right.
to do certain things. So
Right.
the next option is automatically assign a certain staff member. And that's usually going to be, say you're a single operator and you
Hmm.
just want to assign yourself to all of the events. That can be useful. You don't, in that case, I don't know that you necessarily have to assign yourself, but it can be nice to, show your name.
I've also seen like, husband and wife team. One person does DJ service, the other person does photo booth, for example, or something of that nature. And they
Yeah.
assign on each. Yeah.
Or, maybe two people in a different city or
Hmm.
something. And then the last option is to allow the customer to choose from staff during the checkout process. And so earlier in the process, we were discussing when, a customer checks out, they pick their own staff member. This is where you turn that on. And this is when some of those packages and things like that start to come into play. So if you turn that on, couple more options show up here. Do you want to allow the customer to skip this step during the booking? Yes or no? Maybe the customer doesn't know or doesn't care or doesn't want to. And then this option, if all staff are booked for the date, should additional bookings be allowed for that date? So you can decide, okay, if all my staff are booked out, do I want to block that availability or do I want to still allow that
Yeah.
booking?
And I think allowing a customer to skip that step is really going to help. I suppose I would probably enable it because it's going to help with conversions. Like, do you
Mhm.
really care?
Yeah.
Get to the contract. Don't put a hurdle up in front of somebody. That being said, we do have customers that enable it.
And so once you turn that on, you're going to see a new section in your sales drop down here, and that's going to be staff booking requests. Sorry to step back. I turned on the allow staff to request bookings feature. And so once you turn that on, you're going to see this in the top here, the staff booking requests. And any bookings that come in that don't have staff assigned are going to show up under the unassigned bookings. And so right now we've got one that doesn't have a staff assigned. If I was logged in as the staff or even as the admin, I can request this booking and it's going to put a message like this. Your request for this booking is awaiting review. And then I can come over here as, with my admin hat on now and see all of the bookings that are pending review. So Maraschino, that's me. I just requested this. It shows the timestamp, and then I can approve or reject it. And there's a few other options in there if you need them. So most commonly, I would hit approve, and the staff is going to get that email letting them know that they're assigned to the booking. If you want a kind of better idea of what your staff are seeing, a helpful thing is to use the impersonate feature. And so you can go to any customer account, user account, and see this option. And so if I want to see what Alice is going to see, I can impersonate her and be taken right to her dashboard. And so depending on what permissions she has and what she's been assigned to and things like that, she can see those upcoming bookings. She can see uh, her uh, appointments if she's got any of those. She can see her calendar if she wants to see more of a calendar view as well. And so that's all helpful to just kind of get an idea of what your staff are seeing.
Yeah. Gerald saying, is there a way to have the option to stop bookings when you run out of staff without having the customers pick specific staff? I'm currently using the availability rules, but they can get quite complex for staff and do many of the things. So we'd have to look at the specifics of your account if it's getting complex. I mean, feel free to just chat with us, but you basically are going to put caps on packages, in the simplest form. So not to derail too much, but there's the business wide setting right there at the top where there's a two.
Mm.
That'll cap two bookings at a time for the entire account. And then below, there's other caps down there. And generally, Check Cherry will allow you to overbook yourself if you're sending out proposals date reserved. So we did, that was kind of something we experienced early on where people want to, for whatever reason, they want to be overbooked. And it does happen. So Gerald, I would just say chat with us. We can take a look. But it would be related to the availability rules.
The problem with the simultaneous bookings is we have, for instance, we have all of our DJs can run photo booths, but not all of our photo booth operators can DJ. Some of them can be MCs. Like our MCs can do everything, but our DJs can't be MCs.
Hmm.
So I'm using the availability rules, but as you add more staff and more packages and more things on it, it gets pretty.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if once all your staff are assigned, it could just block the day off because you don't have any more employees to do anything.
Hmm.
So like you've got it set up, just have that option as an option when you do the manual that you can also say if you're LS staff, don't take any more bookings on that day.
So then, Gerald, are your staff full time? Like, would they, if they're
No,
in there, absolutely they can book?
no. I assign all the staff for the events based on what's coming in, but there's really it's like I'm using the availability rules. Like I've got DJs, how many DJs available, how many photo booth people, and all that. But because there's crossover and my staff can do numerous things, it's quite possible that I could end up booking more events than I have staff for, just because
Yeah.
one like an MC could DJ or could run a photo booth or could, do
I
a
guess
draw.
kind of what I'm thinking is it's like just because I think for most customers, just because there's a staff account and then that's not booked doesn't mean that staff can do a booking. Does that make sense?
Well, that's why I don't want them picking it. That's why I want to be able to assign it. But
Yeah.
if I assigned all of my staffs to events, it'd be nice if the system just automatically blocked it out. So we couldn't book any more
Oh,
because we don't have any staff members left.
yeah. And maybe you can do that with the checkout feature and not let them, not let them skip it.
Yeah, you
I
can
think you might be
almost
able to do
do it
that.
if, yeah, if yeah, it's an interesting, yeah, it's an interesting point. I don't think you can right now, but yeah, I do get that.
I never
Uh,
even seen that option until you basically showed
Yeah.
where when you selected that the customers can pick the staff, then
Hmm.
those options, do you
yes,
let them book if we don't have any more staff left
Yeah.
pop?
And then you could say this person, I think, don't skip the step. And I think it won't let them proceed. Maybe test it out. Let us know. Um, it's
yeah,
interesting idea though, like somebody has capabilities or something like that.
yeah,
That's kind of what that's saying down there.
Yeah,
Uh,
because you've
but
kind of already programmed it in. It'd just be nice if you
mhm,
could do that, not just with just the
without
customer
having the
picking it.
customer.
But if
Yeah,
I want to manually assign my staff, once I've assigned them all, it'd be great if it just automatically didn't let
mhm.
anything overbook. So,
that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, we'll have to,
Good
we'll
feedback.
talk about it, right? I like that.
okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Yep. Lanisha says, how can you completely remove an employee if they are no longer with your company? Well, I
is
would say just hire right. Hire right the first time. Just kidding.
So, what you can do is, what you'll want to do is archive the user. And so once you archive somebody, we still have them in the account. The reason we archive and we don't quote unquote delete them is, we want to make sure that you can still see that historical data, like if you need to go back and see what, what Mr. What Sam Test, previously did, what they were assigned to, things like that.
Yeah.
That's why we kind of keep it in the system this way, but they will not be able to log in. They won't be able to do anything. This will even, if they're syncing their calendar, we'll even kind of send a blank calendar,
Right.
next time to kind of clear out their calendar as well. So,
Think
so
of it as
pretty
deleting, but
much,
we need
yeah.
historical data, basically. So that's how it works. Yeah. But I
Um,
know I get it. You hire, you never know. It's fine. People move on for good reasons and on good terms.
Yep. Nope, it definitely happens. So, but yeah, once you archive somebody, or if you turn off that login, but archive would probably be the more permanent way. That would be what you want to do. So we looked at the claim, we looked at request. Let's see. Oh, so kind of the next thing is time off requests. So depending on your settings, you can, I don't even know where the setting is. I think under availability. So if I go to manage business settings and availability, and I go to my staff settings, we've got this feature that some people like where by default, we let your staff, if they're going to be unavailable, out of town, whatever, We just let them add it and it shows up on the business calendar. Some people like to approve those though. And so we've got this option that allows that. So if you change this to yes, then what's going to happen is any any out of town type things that your staff put in, you're going to have to approve before they're official. And so since this is turned to yes, how that works is let me log into one of our staff accounts here. So we'll take a look at how it looks for Alice. So I'm in Alice now, and so if I set my availability, or if Alice sets hers, when she does this, request time off, puts a date and an end time, then that's going to show awaiting review, and you'll get an email letting you know that, hey, somebody requested some time off. And so now, switching back to our admin hat, if I go to my time off requests, I'm going to see Alice's time off request here. And so I can approve that. If there's any kind of note, I can add that and then, approve that.
And if
Similar,
you-
I can reject that. And
Yeah.
if there's a reason to, put something in there, you can as well. So.
You're fine. And to be clear, you don't have to approve or reject. Staff can still go in and put time off at any time. And so, right, I mean, if this is off, they could go in
So
and
if
mark
the
off.
staff puts it in,
It just
we're not
happens.
gonna block off their availability until it's been approved. So-
Yeah, but I'm saying if you don't have that setting, so let's say you
Right,
want, you're
right.
concerned about
The
being
default,
perceived
yeah,
as an independent contractor and you don't want to have to approve or reject and get into that world. So
Yeah.
staff can still basically notify you of their availability and put time off
exactly. The
without your
default
approval.
behavior is going to be to allow them to do that. So by default, we'll allow them to just put it in. There's no approval or review process. And
Gerald
so,
says staff asking for time off is a perfect reason why when staff are booked or not available, it would stop bookings using availability rules filter out. Yeah. And I could see, I mean, I think now I kind of get it where it's like no staff, all staff is booked is what he's saying, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that problem when my staff book time off on it. It basically the availability rules I've set up for this complex make sure it all gets thrown out the window on it because it'll let it book it when I don't actually have any staff to do it. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
my workaround doesn't work if somebody asks for a day off.
yeah, yeah.
No days off. We're earning here, people.
Exactly. Hire the right
You want to
people.
earn?
You said before. That's the key.
Are you into making money or not? Sounds like no. I'm joking.
So maybe next, let's take a look at our automated messages. So by default, if you've signed up for Chat Cherry, we'll have a bunch of emails already set up to go in your account. And that's going to include, when your staff gets assigned, we'll send them an email. But
Getting a lot of them. You might have to use the search feature.
uh-huh. And so I'm going to search for staff to, and even that wasn't enough. Let's see here. Staff assigned to event. So
Yeah.
so I can come in here and tweak that template, with whatever information you want to add here. You'll notice the recipient is staff assigned to booking, and yeah, and so when they get, assigned, they'll get an email. You can also add new messages too. So if you want to trigger that, if you want to do that manually or use our template, you can. And then you can also have reminders. So again, I think we have a reminder by default already. But we do.
We might not in the
So-
demo account.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sure.
But if you wanted to add a staff reminder, you can do that. And so what you're going to do in that case is the scheduled date of the event. So because, we want to remind them a day before or something like that, you're going to use the scheduled date trigger. And it's probably easiest just to use one of our templates. And we'll view that template. And it'll kind of pre-fill everything for you. So again, the email, this one is set to go 2 days before their booking. You could change that to 1 day, even hours, things like that. it's going to go to the staff. And basically that'll mean all of the staff that are assigned are going to get a copy of this email. And it'll have whatever details, you want to include in that. It also includes a little calendar attachment for their phone too. So sometimes your phone will pick that sort of thing up and just show automatic reminders as well.
Yeah, and I think I think reminders, text message reminders day of, that type of thing, just to make sure, that they didn't
And then you can
forget.
also have reminders go out after the event too. Sometimes we have people,
Mhm.
they need their staff to fill out some kind of questionnaire or do something, follow up with the customer in some way after the event. So you can set up things even after the event is over if you need to as well.
Tracy says, was there an option for the staff to accept, decline an event from a manually assigned event from within the email? So in other words, I think what you're saying is if I assign a member, it sends them an email and it basically they could click a button that says, no, I can't do this, and it would take them off or something, it sounds like. Short answer is no, we don't have that. What I have seen people do is they'll assign and they'll have start with, hey, if you can't do this booking, let me know as soon as possible, type situation. But no, there's no way to click a button and have yourself removed from the staff. It's an interesting idea. Tracy, what I would also wonder is, would it be best just to send out all staff an email and have them request to work the booking, or is there a benefit to, I guess, assigning them and having them reject in such a manner?
The other thing you can do too is, as Judd mentioned, so based on when that booking is created, when a booking comes in, you can also, if we have a template for that one. Yeah, it looks like we have, oh no, so I think this is one you'd have to create manually, but you can send out an email to all of your staff, just letting them know that a booking came in. And so
And
what
let me know if you want to work it manually. That's what we used to tell people to do
all
before we
staff.
did the feature. Yeah. But yeah, Tracy, I'd be kind of curious as to, why that way is better than the other ways. I can actually think of some examples, but I'm curious,
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we've just been participating in the bookings coming in, and then we assign the appropriate staff based on experience or
Mm-hmm.
right man for the job. And so they get the email, and I thought in that email it said, "Let us know if you're available for this event." In the example you just showed, and maybe like a little it's pulling some script from the booking, but yeah, it's
You say, I think the wording we use by default is something like, what do we say? Please let me know if you can't make it. So we assume they can, and then just like kind of reply to the email if you can't. But
Yeah.
get it? Yeah, kind of an opt-in or something to make it a little more formal that they're.
I've also seen people, you put that in red or,
Yeah.
or just to say, hey guys, look, when you see this email, let us know. But I could see why that would be helpful. I mean, I guess a couple of thoughts on the product would be, is there a time limit where they can click and decline it? What happens if a day before they click that link? Does it remove them? Obviously an email you would want to get an email as well. But yeah.
Yeah, we could put something in there that says,
And you can,
please,
there's a color thing to make it red. Yeah.
please let us know, within 24 hours or something.
Yeah.
If you
Like,
can
hey,
accept this booking. But I would just,
Yeah,
I knew that there wasn't
Yeah.
seemingly something in there, but I didn't know if there was any kind of workarounds anybody came up with.
no, and we could, it's certainly something we could, build out, but I would kind of start with that and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Red, something high, let them know, hey, I'm going to assign you. If you can't make it, just respond. It's all good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. So a couple other little things.
Well, I'm also going to add, I would also maybe, if you were doing that, send a text message too. You know what I mean? Because that might get their attention quicker.
Yeah, I think we're sending out the email, and then kind of actually what we've been doing is we sync with Google Calendar, and Google Calendar has that accept, maybe decline. And for a period of time it worked, and we could even update the event within Check Cherry, which would update the Google Calendar. But then it started removing people that we added to the event in Google Calendar every time we updated the Check Cherry event. So then we were like, oh my gosh, I thought we assigned, someone to that event. And
And it
You
would
know,
be
it-
nice if Google Calendar would, they don't allow us to lock it, if I remember right.
right.
So it's not something that we can prevent them from doing, but yeah, it'll just get overwritten. It's
Yeah.
not
Like I
something.
say, for a while, it would not remove somebody if I like updated background or did anything. And then we went through a period, and I can't even tell you today confidently that it still doesn't, but at least last week I updated events and the people were still assigned. So I was like, oh, Google Calendar is still, keeping people assigned that accepted it through that. So that it's kind of been our workaround, but um,
Yeah,
yeah,
Google does a lot of stuff implicitly, and yeah, it makes it a little little tricky to figure out what they're doing sometimes too. It's like,
yeah. I just, sometimes I just want to look at my, main landing page where I look at the event and kind of a brief overview, and I see my staff assigned. If there was a way just to, that's like a check mark, or they click a button and it just shows up that I know that, they've accepted it. Or of course, I mean, it might be a manual process if they say, no, I can't do that. And we even would have to go back and remove them from that event, even though we've already assigned them as a temporary, process. Um, I don't know, just trying to
No,
figure out.
it's good. And I could see if you have specific people that do specific packages where that would be helpful.
Yeah.
And
And strangely enough, we have people that don't use Google Calendar. So it doesn't work for all of our employees. So
cool. Was
but
good.
I
Great
appreciate it.
feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
it's
guys.
good to
Thank
know.
you guys.
Matt, both Lanisha and Gerald did not know about the color in emails. Watch out. There's going to be a lot of red coming out of Check Cherry now. And purples, and I'm joking.
A couple of other little helpful things I'll mention. So on your questionnaires, if you do any type of questionnaires, a few things that are useful to know there. Um, if you go to your templates and you go to the settings, you can control whether staff are allowed to see or fill out questionnaires. So sometimes people have, and the same for clients. So, so that's a little bit separate from the other permissions, but I would say most common is that people do want the staff to at least be able to see what the customers filled out. But you can also do some other use cases, like if you want your staff to fill out some kind of questionnaire or fill something out, you can actually do that as well. And in that case, you would just hide it from your client, so only the staff see it. Similarly, if you go to your checklists, checklist items can also, they can be assigned to staff as well. So I guess first off, the checklist itself, you can control whether the staff can see that or not. So by default, we'll allow staff, as long as they have permission to the booking, to see any checklist items. And then, but you can turn that off if needed. And then when the staff is on their, looking at an event, they'll be able to see whatever questionnaires they have access to, whatever checklists they have access to. And then they can see what's done, check things off, depending on those permissions. You can also even assign staff to, if I want to assign Alice to something, I can do that. And so being able to see things, go into an event and see things is helpful. But you or the staff can also see kind of a more global to-do list as well. So that's going to have all of your checklists in just one place. And so if I want to, see just the ones that are assigned to me, I can do that as well. So,
Lanisha's got a question on contracts. She says, do you think we could add contracts for our staff to electronically sign as part of the staff user creation login? For example, NDA, non-compete, and other new hire
You
document?
kind of do it with the questionnaire templates. It's not really what it's made for, but we do have with the questionnaires, we do have an e-signature field. So kind of sort of, you could have them sign something, include some text um in here, I agree, X, Y, and Z. So it's not really a full like contract, type of thing, but that is one kind of workaround. But we don't have like a particular like where they sign.
It's good feedback. Yeah, I mean, like user
Yeah.
accounts don't really have contracts. Everything's revolves around the booking when it comes to that, and I could see where that would be helpful. We also have people that do, subcontracting, and they want people to sign contracts, on the bookings. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that goes on in this area, but it's good feedback.
Mhm. Yeah, and we've got some ideas for kind of that process that we'll probably have some updates to.
Mhm.
Um,
And then wait, before I forget, there was somebody that said something because I'm getting way down here. My question for later, I heard you guys will add a meet up time / arrival time for events and that is different than start time. When will you add this feature? And go ahead, Matt, if you want to respond to
yeah, I
that too.
don't remember. Maybe we said I don't know if we formally announced anything or but I think it makes sense to have like um a little bit more um we've talked about a few different things here. Maybe when you're assigning the staff, you can set uh, a start time and an end time or some things like that. Maybe a check-in process makes sense as well. Maybe some notes, some things like that.
You
So
can currently add a extra question that has like a setup time and have it be internal. It doesn't extend the calendar object for the staff member, so that they come, if they look at their calendar that show up at, 6 versus 7 or stuff like that. And we tend not to announce like uh, timelines on features. And a lot of that has to do with, I guess, what we've learned when it comes to software development. Some things can seem really simple, but then they're really complicated. And some things might look like oh, that's an easy fix. And then it's like, wow, actually, it touches a lot of pieces of the system. So we've just learned to listen to customers and try to deliver on features. But we think it makes a lot of sense to have something there. You know, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think another thing, probably coming down the pipe, hopefully not terribly far, would be to be able to assign them to specific packages. If you've got multi-day events or different packages, being able to assign the staff to that is something we,
Yeah.
like to.
And Andre says you can use the additional info for setup time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Yeah, and a lot of times in the private notes and things like that.
it surprisingly hasn't come up as much as you would think in the life of Chuck Cherry, the whole like a different setup time. It does pop up. It does make sense. Um, but yeah.
And then another thing, so probably most people know,
Wait,
but
hold on. He's saying again, sorry, not sure if my question is asked. I mean, I thought we just answered and addressed the question.
yeah. So the straight answer, I don't know, and we'll
Yeah.
answer that when we'll add that.
And we don't announce timelines
Yeah,
on
and I have no
features.
promises, so yeah. But yeah, we're always yeah, we do intend to add something along those lines.
Hmm.
One other thing just to mention in case anybody doesn't know, but your staff can sync their own calendar to CheckCherry. So if they do that, if I log in as Olivia and I go to my calendar and I subscribe to it, I can, or she can, with Google Calendar, iOS, Apple Calendar, all that kind of stuff. There's instructions there for how to, keep their calendar in sync. So that can be helpful for just kind of having it on their personal calendar, not needing to log into CheckCherry as well. And then of course the iOS and Android
I was going to
app.
say that's perfect
Yeah.
segue in iOS Android stuff. So, yeah.
Let's see if I can.
You can, if you don't know about the iPhone Android apps, If you go to www.checkcherry.com and scroll to the bottom, you'll see links to the iPhone version and the Android version. And so you can click those and download. There's QR codes, all that stuff. And the iPhone apps are not client facing, or the iPhone Android apps are not client facing. They're basically for staff and admin access.
And so with the apps, I think those are especially useful for staff because they might not want to remember logins or, come to your website. They're not always on CheckCherry like, your admins typically are. So if they have the app, they can see any bookings they're assigned to, or basically, whatever permissions they have, they can see that information. They can also see their calendar, what they have access to, and they can do things like setting time off. And that's going to work, similar to the website where they can set their availability, whatever kind of settings and permissions you have in place will work the same between the app and the website there. And
Lanisha
then
says the app is much better. Thanks, guys. And Gerald says, love the app. That's all my staff use too. So
And then similar, they can also see their checklist items too. So if you are assigning people things, they can do that. And I think the best thing about the app would be like the push notifications. So, not only do you get an email when you get assigned, but you also get that push notification too. And then, as Judd mentioned, you can also set text messaging too. But I think the push notifications are helpful. So.
I think what I like about text is I know they get it. On iPhone, you don't really know, somebody could disable push notifications and, but yeah, I agree.
Sorry, is it a good time
I
to
don't know
ask
if
a
we have anything under
question?
reporting there.
Yep. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Hey Jude, hey Matt. So my question revolve around, having multiple brand because the account I have 5 brand opportunity. I'm currently using 2. I'm trying to scratch my itch and start another brand, still using the same 2. Even though I don't know if it will work, it's just like curiosity, you might as well do it. The only problem is how the goal is to build that brand while I'm figuring out assign someone to manage it, but I don't want that person to have the purview to the other account because I have one for my photography and I have one for my photo booth. And for some reason, because I rebranded, because I used to have everything under my photography, but I rebranded whereby I have my photo booth now. So it's everything works as I want it. But I don't want the staff that I hire for that third brand, which is not even affordable related at all. But I know the way the tool is designed, when you play with it, you can use it for a lot of different services. So my thing is I don't want them to be able to have access to be able to see, even though if I give them admin role and things like that.
So in other words, you want to be able to have an admin that only can see certain one brand, so to speak.
Yes.
Does all the money go to one bank account for the separate brands?
Right now, yes, but the goal is I don't know if it's gonna even possible to be able to get like the new stuff to go to a different brand because I'm gonna have to open a new LLC and
right. And so basically you're running a separate business. And so you'd need a separate CheckCherry account, is what I would suggest.
Okay.
Kind of the brand stuff is great for kind of like really customer facing, but like the operation itself is like one business, one company, so to speak. So if you're going to have different employees and permissions and different bank accounts, it's a separate CheckCherry account and probably the base plan. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it defend the purpose of me having the 5 brand then.
Well, some people actually have multiple brands. Like they'll do that. We specifically called it a brands feature and not like separate businesses, so to speak. We don't want people running kind of multiple businesses with one CheckCherry account.
Well, what about in a situation whereby like I open another location maybe in Philadelphia while I have one in Charlotte, but I don't
we see
like
people do that with one brand and multiple brands. Yeah.
yeah, so that way the each brand have their own domain, or maybe because I
I
have
think when you're
someone
getting into the
managing
world, like
that.
another thing is like let's just imagine it's like, oh, I found my partner, in Philadelphia, and we're gonna start splitting the revenue and all this stuff. But like if it's really a separate business and a separate venture, I would highly recommend a separate check cherry account, because if things fall out, or if somebody wants to buy somebody out, it can all just, it's easier, you know.
Okay. Well, I gotta figure something out on that.
Yeah.
The only suggestion that I'm gonna request is if we can do a webinar about tracking our Google Analytics, because I followed what you said, Jude, to like have the site on the site, but it's like crickets. I'm not getting anything. I feel like I can do better talking to
Hmm.
them. But even though I don't like it because it consumes my time, I have to call them and half of them won't pick up and things like that. I put things in place using the appointment or Calendly, whereby after they submit the lead, they receive a message to me later, hey, we know you're busy, but if you want to schedule a specific time whereby we can talk. That's not bad. It was working. I tried for a month. I was able to close some, and then some people actually pick up on the right time. Some still didn't pick up. But I was like, you know what? Jude said I should go for it. I put my distance on the side. I was looking my Google Calendar from the month that I did it. And I said, oh, sorry, my Google ads from the month that I did it and the other month. And it's just literally I have one conversion. And that conversion is just like, it was some other business trying to just get information about my business.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be cool if we did have more educational content around Google Ads and tracking the sales. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's good feedback.
yeah, because the way it's set up right now, is the conversion is counted when they fill the form and they receive the thank you page. But if I want to do it whereby I don't want them to go through thank you page, because if you see the price, I just assume you want it, then you should go through Cherry subdomain that I have, but
Hmm.
I won't be able to track it after that. So it's just like lost in the weeds.
Right. Are you doing it yourself, or did you hire somebody to help you with
So
it?
I had someone initially, but I kind of know what I was doing. I know, but I was just like, okay, let me do it. Just
Hmm.
so, but I do majority of it myself now. Like I've been fortunate whereby I understand business SEO. I'm ranking number 1 now because it's like something I know enough
Yep. Sure.
stuff. So, but like it's not converting. So I'm like, okay, I need to find another way. Still playing with different things, trying, A/B testing and things like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
it's always,
just
I
and
would
it's,
definitely also check out under the integrations if you go to manage business settings integrations. We do have a place where you can put in your tracking code as well. So if that can help with tracking the conversions as well.
okay. So you mean like because like the way I have it on Google is like it will ask for a page that will to
Yeah, I mean,
confirm
if you're
that
using the
conversion.
online booking, at least, if you go to business settings, integrations, we've got some different options in here. So things like Google Ads, analytics, things like that. But it does require the website to be set up to pass that along and stuff like that. So sometimes it's more complicated than that. But if you are using the online booking, that's where that integration comes in. If you're using like a contact form or something, and just sending them to a thank you page, then this doesn't really apply. Just, you would just continue to do it the way you're doing. But yeah, just something to check out if you're not familiar with that.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you guys maybe not next week or 2 weeks time or 3 weeks time, but when you guys give us content on that, that way we can get a little bit more familiar because I believe in the idea of just tracking, most especially if I'm spending the money. I want to know what's going on because I'm trying multiple angles because I have a lot of competition in my area and I
Hmm.
just want to know what works, what is not working, and
right.
figure things out. But definitely thanks for the app. I finally started using the app. I like the idea that I can see that people actually, without having to log in, that people are actually like view the proposal or just those push notification. It works perfectly. So thanks for that.
Awesome. Love it. If there's any other questions, feel free to chat in or raise your hand or unmute yourself. We're at
I saw one,
7.
yeah, I saw one question. Can do it real quick. There was a question about how to add employees. So you're going to see that under manage user accounts, and then you're going to click add new user, and then yeah, and then you'll see you can either check the staff or the admin option there. So And then we'll send out a link to the webinar.
Yeah,
if
Sonia, there'll be a
wanna
link.
kind
We
of run
covered
through
this
some of
earlier
those.
on.
We'll
Yep.
have that as well. So
Yeah. And yeah,
Thank you, guys.
yeah, thanks for showing up,
thank you
everybody.
guys.
And have a great evening. And thanks for the feedback. If you ever have suggestions for webinars, we're open. If you want to hear it. So we'll keep on covering them and keep on trying to nail them out every other couple of weeks. So have a good night, everybody. Thank
Thank you
you.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Matt.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Bye.
Good night. Thank you.